The auditory apparatus is divided into three sections. The first section is the outer ear, which is composed of the pinna, the external auditory meatus, and the tympanic membrane. The pinna is the visible part of our outer ear. The external auditory meatus is also called the ear canal, and lastly, the tympanic membrane is called the eardrum. The image below shows how sound wave travels in the outer ear. The pinna will first collect sound waves from the outside and will channel them into the external auditory meatus or the ear canal, where the sound is then amplified. The sound will continue to travel down the canal until it reaches the tympanic membrane or the eardrum, which will then start to vibrate with the sound waves and will then transfer the sound into the middle ear. The second section of the auditory apparatus is called the middle ear. This air-filled cavity houses the ossicles, the medial surface of the tympanic membrane, and the eustachian tube. The ossicles are three small bones commonly named after their shapes: the malleus or hammer, the incus or anvil, and the stapes or stirrups. The tympanic membrane or the eardrum separates the outer ear from the middle ear. Lastly, the eustachian tube helps to connect the middle ear to the back of the nose and the nasopharynx, or the upper part of the throat. Sound waves travel from the outer ear, amplify in the ear canal, and then vibrate on the eardrum. These vibrations of the eardrum will then travel to the ossicles of the middle ear. The malleus, incus, and stapes will begin to move due to this vibration and will send the sound wave signals to the inner ear.
The inner ear consists of several important components, including the cochlea, semicircular canals, and vestibule. The cochlea is a spiral-shaped snail-like structure within the inner ear. It is responsible for converting sound vibrations into electrical signals that can be interpreted by the brain. The semicircular canals are three fluid tubes that are interconnected and positioned at right angles to each other. They play a key role in maintaining our sense of balance and detecting rational movements of the head. The vestibule is a central part of the inner ear that connects the cochlea and the semicircular canals. It consists of two sacs called the utricle and saccal, which contain sensory cells and small calcium carbonate crystals called othellus. These structures help us perceive linear acceleration and changes in head position, contributing to our overall sense of balance. Sound travels through the inner ear in a series of steps that involve the cochlea and its specialized structures. First, the sound waves are collected by the outer ear, the pinna, and directed into the ear canal where they strike the tympanic membrane. The eardrum vibrates in response to the sound waves, transmitting these vibrations to three tiny bones in the middle ear called the oculus. The oculus amplifies and transmits the vibrations from the eardrum to the oval window. The vibrations of the oval window create fluid waves in the cochlea. As the fluid waves travel through the scala vestibuli, they cause a flexible membrane called the basilar membrane to move up and down. On the basilar membrane, there are specified hair cells that have tiny hair-like projections called stereocilia on their surfaces. The movement of the basilar membrane causes the stereocilia to bend back and forth, stimulating the hair cells. When the hair cells are stimulated, they convert the mechanical vibrations into electrical signals, which are then transmitted to the auditory nerve. The auditory nerve carries these electrical signals to the brain, specifically to the auditory cortex. Sound reaches the brain through a complex pathway that involves several structures and processes. After the cochlea's hair cells convert sound vibrations into electrical signals, these signals are picked up by the auditory nerve, also known as the cochlear nerve. The auditory nerve carries the electrical signals from the cochlea to the brain. Within the brainstem, the auditory nerve fibers synapses and neurons in the cochlear nucleus. From the cochlear nucleus, the auditory signals travel further up the brainstem to various auditory relay centers. The auditory signals then continue their journey to the thalamus, specifically the medial geniculate nucleus, which serves as a major relay station for sensory information going to the auditory cortex. Finally, the auditory signals reach the auditory cortex, which is located in the temporal lobe of the brain. The auditory cortex processes and interprets the electrical signals, allowing us to perceive and understand sound.